Hi class, in this video I'll work a few examples from your section 10.1 WebAssign assignment called square root property. Okay, the instructions say solve the quadratic equation by using the square root property. Enter answers as comma separated list, and if there's no solution, then you would write the word no solution. Okay, like we talked about in class, the first thing you need to work on is isolating the term that's being squared. In this example, 8x squared equals 56. The only term, or the only part of the term that's being squared is the x. And so what that means is the first step is you'll divide both sides by 8. Now you have x squared equals 7. And just like when we were working with radical equations, we use the exponent to cancel the radical symbol. We're going to do just the opposite. We're going to use the radical symbol to cancel the exponent. So we'll take the square root of both sides. On the left side, that equals x. On the right side, when we take the square root of a number, when we're thinking about the roots of any number, it's going to be a positive and a negative. So the answer will be a positive square root of 7 and a negative square root of 7. So you'll write both of those answers separated by a comma. Okay, so let's try that again. The only term being squared is the x. We'll subtract 1. X squared equals negative 1. The next step would be to take a square root of both sides. The left side is x equals, look here to the right side. We cannot take a square root of a negative number. We can take a cubed root of a negative number, but not a square root. And so this is an example where you would write no solution. Okay, take a look at this example. 9x squared equals 49. 9x squared equals 49. Even though 9 is a perfect square number, the only part of the term that is really being squared right now is this x squared again. So divide both sides by 9. We'll have x squared equals 49 over 9. I want you to keep it as a fraction because you should quickly recognize that 49 and 9 are perfect square numbers. When you take the square root of both, this will be x equals. And remember, the square root of a fraction, it's really the square root of the numerator over the square root of the denominator. So the positive and negative roots of 49 over 9 are a positive 7/3 and a negative 7/3. So those would be your two answers separated by a comma. Okay, let's try that again. This time there's a binomial being squared and it is already isolated. And so we can start this problem off by drawing a radical symbol over both of them. The left side will be the binomial y minus 6. The right side, the roots of 121, is a positive 11 and a negative 11. We can't enter that answer in as is because we want to solve for y, not y minus 6. And so what I told you to do in class is when you have a binomial equal to two answers, it's best just to split those into two separate equations. Y minus 6 equals the positive root of 121 and y minus 6 equals the negative root. And then you can just solve it like you would any other equation. Add 6 to both sides. So answer number 1 is 17. If you add 6 to negative 11, that's negative 5. And that's your second answer. And you would enter those two answers in any order with a comma between them. Let's try another one like that. So again, this is a binomial being squared. It is already isolated. So we'll take the square root of both sides. The left side is x minus 4 equals a positive square root of 3 and a negative square root of 3. So just like we did in the last problem, separate this into two separate equations. X minus 4 equals the positive root of 3 and x minus 4 equals the negative root of 3. We'll add 4 to both sides. So your first answer to x is the square root of 3 plus 4. And we'll do the same to the second equation. The second answer is negative square root of 3 plus 4. Now you may have learned this in high school to write your answer as x equals plus or minus the square root of 3 plus 4. Unfortunately, WebAssign at the point of this recording does not have a symbol for the plus minus sign. And so you will have to write your answer out twice. You'll have to separate the answer by putting square root of 3 plus 4, comma, negative square root of 3 plus 4, and that's your final answer. Okay guys, that's all for this video. Please let me know if you have any questions.